Hello and welcome to the Second Row podcast. My name is Park O'Cally, aka the Second Row. We are, as always, here to talk about all things Connacht and Irish rugby. And joining me is Will Foley. How are you getting on, Will?
In person, in live, I can reach out and touch you. Ooh.
Yes, don't be weird.
Yes, we are live and in person here to talk about the final round of the URC and all of the rugby news and the women's rugby, which we were both at today.
Yes, what an occasion.
What an occasion. Fantastic
Yeah.
atmosphere. Best atmosphere in the Aviva ever.
Definitely in the last 20 years.
Yeah, certainly at a Six Nation Games I've ever been at in the
Yes.
in the Aviva. Probably, I'm sure there's been a point at which we've almost won it or won it in the Aviva and all that kind of thing, and that's been a good atmosphere. But an unbelievable atmosphere.
From like minute one outside the stadium, it's just life and people and just joy.
Great vibes, just very good vibes.
So hopefully more of that to come for the women's rugby team, and I think we will be in the Aviva more often than not in the future.
Yes, I think that is likely based on today and the close to 32,000 record-setting occasion as well for them. So
I do think they need to add 100 people to that number, given the amount of babies that didn't buy
true.
tickets.
That is very true.
That were there.
At least, at least. And also they could do a little bit of work on some of the stuff around looking after babies, as we learned.
Yeah, it's definitely the Aviva is definitely a place designed for men. I think I would call it.
It's designed for and let's say that. Unattached adults who are there to drink and watch sport.
Yes.
That is what the Aviva is designed for. It is not really, I would say, catered towards families and certainly not infants.
Definitely. 100%.
And certainly not a predominantly female crowd, which I would say this game was.
Yeah, and it's really weird when you kind of look at stadia around the country, even the Dexcom, kind of like, I don't think they're going to realise the shift in people going to games that is going to happen over the next coming years as women's rugby gets stronger. The demographics of people going to games will shift a certain direction, and they need to be ready.
I think it was even just evident at the anthems, which were like incredibly well sung, but like it was just at a higher pitch than what I was like, ooh, this feels different.
Yes,
in a nice way, but like it felt different. Like I was like, oh, this is a different crowd. Like this is a different style of crowd that's here.
Yeah, no, near us there was a group from one of the clubs playing minis. And they were trying to get a Mexican wave started constantly. And there was one in the first half that went the full way around the pitch, and you'd swear they'd won the All-Ireland. And I don't think you'd get that kind of atmosphere and buzz and people buying into what's going on around them at a men's Six Nations game.
No.
And women's rugby is just different, and it's great. And I'm glad it stands on its own 2 feet. It's a different vibe and atmosphere as well. Yeah,
I will say my claim to fame when they were, I don't know the name of the card when it's not Kevin.
I think it's Quiva. It's near enough or something like that. I don't like this name. I've called her.
We'll go with Quiva. Quiva the card going around shooting off the merch. I did catch a piece of merch, and I did the very thing that again I say to any grown man who is on this or any adult who's on this: you give it to the nearest kid. So I caught it because I was 1.5 feet taller than everybody around me, and a woman in the row in front of me jumped to try and catch it, and I just did that and got it, and then handed it to the child next to me. So.
The right thing. You did the right thing.
Yes, I did the right thing.
So no, I was there with my little girl. It was nice. With
first big outing,
and with 100 people from Nace Rugby, the club I am currently attached to.
Amazing.
So, and if anyone saw the bananas, they are Nace because of bananas. If anyone is wondering why people are dressed up as bananas at a match, that is why.
It's as good a reason as any.
Yeah. So let's get talking about the URC. I think there is rugby news. We don't have notes. As you can see, there's no papers in front of us. This is all vibes.
This is all vibes.
And
it's not the end of the season, but it's the end of the regular season. Therefore, we're in vibe territory.
And given that everything that was happening on Friday night was just pure vibes based, given results, everyone wanting people to win and lose. Yeah. Kind of
Munster fans cheering for Glasgow, all sorts of things. Cats and dogs living together.
It was mental. But we'll start with Connacht, as we always do. And they were the first game on Friday night. And a very impressive win against Edinburgh. I think Connacht were really not good, didn't play very well, but they defended incredibly. One half of their game was incredible. The other half of the game was awful. Or
just didn't fire.
Or function.
Yeah, in the same way for whatever reason. Yeah, definitely not their best performance in terms of actual quality of the rugby that they were playing, and again specifically attack. But they, in fairness to Edinburgh, who really had nothing to play for other than pride, did play hard.
They threw the kitchen sink at Connacht at times.
They were like, "You're coming to our territory. We're not like lying down for you here.
We're saying goodbye to players. It's our last home game.
Yeah.
It's very much the same way Benetton played against Leinster. Like there was like, no, we have enough pride in ourselves to have one final good performance here in our own ground, and we will do that. And I think they put together a performance that they won't be, the result aside, overly disappointed with, because they had so much the ball. They'd just be frustrated they didn't get anything from the game.
They're not converting it into any scores and stuff like that. But like, I think you have to credit Connacht in terms of like the scramble defense in particular was immense. But just all across the field in terms of defense, it was immense. Like.
The phase play defense is what really is what I'm really impressed with. It's that decision of when to shoot, when to jockey. Their decision making in defense is very good, and then there is that physicality of the big hits, and just the sheer work rate. On the Butler again, I saw wasn't 20 plus tackles again this week for someone who's our third choice, effectively our third choice hooker, and with the fifth choice on the bench. Like it's a really good showing from him. Cian Prendergast once again.
Just a massive
player of the match, and he is now just hitting those performances all the time. I think he's brought his floor, which I'll talk about later on in the Munster game, because that's the big thing for them.
Yeah,
their floor from say like a 5 out of 10 to a constant 7 out of 10.
Yeah,
and that's what gets you into Ireland squads. I think he's now a de facto Ireland team member.
Yeah, like
given his performance level,
100%. Like his challenge for Ireland is always just going to be the embarrassment of riches we often have it in the back row, right? Like, and the fact that Doris is there and stuff like that, and is the captain. Like it's so like I think in years gone by he would have been a starting player for Ireland at this point. Yeah. That just at the moment, by virtue of who's in that back row, it's just very hard to unseat anybody. But I think
post World Cup, we're going to see a lot of change in this agree. Irish picture.
Yeah.
And
I think he's very much become a player that is, like, to me, becoming much more nailed on to go to a World Cup, because I think, and I've said this before, I think he gives you a kind of Peter O'Mahony quality, and that is a thing that Ireland has been missing since Peter O'Mahony's gone. It's just that, like,
chip on the shoulder.
Yeah, just that fight and just that, like, doggedness in defense, but also in attack, and just like, I'm not giving you the ball, not because it's strategic, but because fuck you.
Yeah, and it's innate. It's not manufactured.
Yeah.
So like Leinster
have tried
to manufactured that in their team, like the presser against us, they're this against us. You know, you can manufacture that, but with him, it's just innate in him. I think he did play well. Ione is such a good attacker. I do those moments he got on the ball and he sees that gap, and
that try, like the finish for that try, he had so much work to do with that finish. I think, again, you can kind of see the quality of player he is there. And
I think having the support around him in terms of kicking and stuff, he is worth what he does. He doesn't shirk a defence. He puts his body on the line.
Yeah.
Sean Jansen, that break from the scrum for that try.
What a player as well this season. Like you said, having an unbelievable season.
Yeah, he's player of the year in Connacht rugby,
widely deserved.
Not surprised by any means. And there's enough people having good enough performances in attack in the right times that we got the bonus point win. That was needed, very simple. But it was the mistakes in attack that just killed us. The drop balls, the inaccuracy in passing. I always kind of say it, when you look of a set piece move, and if Bundy's reaching behind him or that ball's on in front of him, or Bundy or Harry West or Bolton on the inside line, you name it. Like Jansen, at one point the ball was above his head and he's trying to, it's that type of inaccuracy that was just stopping Connacht going forward. Then you had the drop balls, then you had the stupid penalties.
Yeah,
it's all that type of, I think some of those penalties were soft as hell, and it's one of those things where I don't think Connacht got their ref prep right. And I there's an element of that side of it, because I don't think anything Edinburgh did, they didn't bully us physically enough to.
No, it wasn't pressure in that way. It was. It felt more like the penalties felt
brain
more.
Farts.
Like mistakes by Connacht as opposed to, and like we've seen it. Like the Montpellier game is probably a good example where like Connacht are just under such fierce pressure, and like any team under that kind of pressure, you're going to cough up penalties because you just can't. It's that, or just like literally let them walk through you. So it didn't. I would agree with you in terms of it felt more Connacht getting in their own way as opposed to Edinburgh specifically putting them under pressure.
Yeah, and I think a key one of those, that kind of Shane Bolton penalty where he jumps for a block and hits into a player. I'm like, is that even a penalty? Like, really? He's going for a block.
Yeah.
But I suppose he's technically got in the way of the person running for the ball. You know, it's one of those weird ones.
Yeah.
And you're
away, right? So, like, sometimes those things go against you when you're
and that's the difference of home, the home advantage, and that all that plays into it. So I'm not bitching about the reffing in any way, shape, or form. It's just kind of that stupid stuff. Is like, there's penalties there that weren't penalties last week, and you get used to a way of playing and being and winning. You know, winning the physicality stakes and getting rewarded, and I don't think Connacht felt they were getting rewarded for those type of bits. And for both teams, the Jackler had to rip the ball to get a turnover. Hands on wasn't enough. I think that confused,
which is unusual.
Yeah, and Connacht didn't react to that. They gave away penalties for like holding on, being on the ball too long and all that type of stuff. So I don't think I think that was nerves of needing to win. It was that de facto knockout match. I'm glad we're having this performance now.
It's a good lesson to take out of this game, right? Particularly going into knockout games where like you do have to play the ref. Like you have to adjust to the way the ref is playing the game and adjudicating the game. Particularly, you need to make that adjustment at half time. Like if you don't make it in the first half, that's one thing. But in the second half, there really isn't an excuse for saying, okay, well, we're still not getting the ball like that in the ruck when we put hands on it. You're like, yeah, but you didn't get it in the first half. You've had 40 minutes of
this not working.
Of this not working, and then you had 10 to 15 minutes of chatting about it not working. Time to make the adjustments. Like.
Yeah, and I think those adjustments, which usually can't do very well, didn't happen this week. Well, I was happy with the bench bringing in energy.
Yes,
that was needed. Yeah. We haven't seen it in a while. Like
Samilo again, I thought again.
Well, he replaced Finlay Beelum, who, guess what? He has a newborn. And guess who looks like he has a newborn? And as someone who has a 6-month-old, I know that feeling of like, his body might be okay, his mind is not. It's
there's no way he's fully present.
Yes. So I think he looked like a fellow who hadn't played rugby in a few weeks.
Yeah.
And is like clearly got something else on mind at home.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. That's human. Like,
I'm not giving
bad at all. But Sammy, he just has this energy that he's very. For me, he'll be in an Ireland squad post the World Cup as well, even as another tight head option. I think he's very, very good.
Yeah.
Dooley came on. I know he's going at the end of the year. He brought energy. It was nice to see our fifth hooker play this year, like his first cap. It's always nice in those occasions to get a first cap.
Yeah.
I think Devine again showed why Connacht wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
And this is one I think everyone needs to be reminded every time he plays well. Connacht wanted to keep him.
Yeah.
He wanted to go.
Yeah.
We can't kidnap the child, and far too many times. You go on social media. Why did he let go? I'm like, oh my God, do we have to do this every time? For the next couple of weeks, hopefully, as Connacht progress throughout the knockouts, that's going to happen again.
Yeah.
And
it's not FIFA. You don't just get to keep the player. Like if they want to go, they want to go. Yeah.
So that's that. He brought energy. Jack came on, brought a bit of steadiness. That I think he always brings.
Yeah.
A good win with a bad performance.
Which is a lot to be like again. Like it's a bonus point win with a bad performance. In that sense, right? You did and again, Edinburgh, despite the talent they have in their team, just have not put it together this season.
They are so far below to some of their numbers.
It's crazy. Like when you see the line out, like the team sheet of that Edinburgh team, and you're like, how are you this far down this league?
But Edinburgh fans have an issue with the coaching, and he's been re-signed. He's got an extension,
which is like you can't you'd have to assume it's coaching at this point. Like these players are definitely better than this,
and they play better for Scotland.
Yeah,
and it's that whole thing of. When coaching lets you down, it turns a good players into average players, and then it stops belief. But also, there aren't a million world-class coaches in the world available at all times. And the Edinburgh and SRU can't buy Razzie out of the SA.
Yes.
Who you're getting in is kind of the conversation.
Yeah.
Connacht were lucky Stu came available when he did. That was luck. That was timing and fate and everything like that, And
interestingly, post-match he kind of worded it the same though. That for him it was lucky.
Yeah.
I think it's like he was looking for something like Connacht.
The stars aligned, you know.
Yeah.
And one thing I like about Stu in those post-matches, especially on DGR, he always credits the crew that went behind him.
Yes.
Always.
Yeah, he's very good about
I'm building a foundation.
He picked up something good. It wasn't that like I came in and made everything good. It's like no, the roots are good here. Like the structure is good here. The studs are good here. I just need to add to it.
And the thing is, he could just say nothing.
Oh, yeah.
You know, like
take
it's easy.
credit.
It's easy.
He takes credit,
but not even take credit. Say nothing about what happened before.
Yeah.
You know, like good or bad or indifferent.
Yeah.
But by promoting, he's effectively gone. No, why would I shit on the players I have? Because that, you know, that's the factor for the coaches before. You know, he doesn't do any of that type of stuff. It's all very positive. And I think he's right. The opening of the Dexcom has given the team a lift.
Yeah,
it's weird. It's like
better facilities, right? I think it's that thing of like
it's not even because they had the training facilities. They had all those bits, the training side of it. It's more when you play in front of a crowd.
I think it's the match day thing. I think
the match day. It feel of it all like this
and the better quality dressing room, like all that kind of stuff. Like that's what I mean when I say facilities. I think just like having the better facilities on the game day, just makes you step up a little bit. I think,
and having the full house there and having because the sound in the Dexcom. I know this was in Edinburgh, but the sound there, everything seems to have just kind of sparked this. This thing in amongst the group, and you know, to get that win was needed. They were at 7th going in,
going into the weekend,
the weekend then, and
depending on how results were going to go, then they would be in 7th or 8th basically,
and you know, especially because Cardiff beat Stormers, and I was watching that on a split screen. I couldn't believe it. Once again, Stormers are just the stupidest team I've ever known in my life.
It's interesting because, like, again, there was stuff online for both teams, right? Like, Stormers were playing. Like, if Stormers win that game, they guarantee a home semi, you know, and stuff like that, like in a home quarter, which, like, for a South African team is huge. It's
huge,
massive to be like, and like that. They're in a situation that if Glasgow get knocked out, they have a home final. Like it's massive for like the Stormers who have been trying and like pushing to win another URC and stuff like that because they won the inaugural.
They won, So it's
like there was a lot on the line obviously a lot on the line for Cardiff as well. Like again to get into the top 8 and get into the knockouts and into Europe and all that kind of stuff.
But they've put together a performance that they've won their last few matches. You know, like Cardiff, I think need a bit more
credit.
I wouldn't say a bit more credit for what they've done, you know?
Yeah, they've become a difficult team to beat.
Yeah, and no more than Connacht. It's that whole thing of if you're hard to beat, everything else then so much can stem from that.
Again, being in the fight is what's important. Like, you know, we're recording when the England-France game is on for the women's, like, but we were talking about that, right? Like, for France to have the opportunity, we don't know the result, but based on the halftime score, we're making presumptions. But, like, you know, France need to be in the fight to go up against this England team. It's the same with most teams, right? Like no different than Benetton against Leinster that number of weeks back. Like if you're just in the fight, like if it's close, things happen. People make different decisions. You know, like even the good teams can make kind of harebrained decisions in those moments. So it's
currently 21-36.
Yeah. So
but and I think that'll lead us into kind of the Ulster match. With against Glasgow and a much weakened Ulster team.
A lot of injuries. Obviously Henderson out with suspension.
A bit of an eye on next week. I think that was a selection that was like.
I don't know, was it though? Like, because they again, right? Like,
was it hedged bets?
Survival not guaranteed, and like you want to be in both knockouts, right? Like if you want to be going for silverware, you want to be
knockout rugby's knockout rugby.
Like you want like 2 or 3 more games this season. Like it would be important to them. Like, you know. And they've kind of they've had a bit of a fall, I would say, in the second half of the season anyway. Like they started the season so well. Yeah. And they've sort of dropped off a little bit in the last few games. We've talked about it a good bit in terms of like they seem to have a inability to like hold tight in the last 10 minutes and stop scores.
Yeah, because that was happening again today on Friday. Glasgow score tried to go ahead. And Ulster try and force it wide, and the ball goes to touch, and the game's over. They've lost the game. Yeah, and
what they need to do there was just go through the phases.
They didn't need to force it.
They had made a line break. They'd gotten yards. They were gotten about 10 or 20 meters up, and I was watching it here because the Connacht game I think it just ended. And I was watching it. And I was just like, okay, like you've broken the line. Everything's a bit disordered. You're like inside the 22. Just slow it for like 2 phases. Yeah, just like. Get your bodies up, get into your shape.
Get your realignment,
and like your own. There's only 4 points. You don't actually need the conversion. If you go in on the hair of the corner, that's all you need.
All you need is to try the ball down.
Get the ball down. Take your time. Possibly you'll get a penalty. Kick it in. You know what I mean? But they just like that. They felt I think that kind of frenetic of like the clock's in the red. We need to do this, and then just threw that aggressive pass and out over the end line.
Yeah, but they done that in the first half as well. There was a move they done, and they're like, "Oh, the line breaks on if we really push this," and the ball pops into touch. I think that part of that is not starting Murphy. Because and once again, I think I mentioned last week, Murphy's got so many starts in this team. I think not starting him just hamstrung Ulster a bit, and that's what I mean by an eye on next week.
I get you.
Doak played well. Like, it's all the people you expect to play well.
Bryn Ward, Zach Ward.
Like, interceptions, good reads.
Timoney was decent. Izuchukwu was good.
His ball carrying is really, really strong.
But, like, again, right, it's a team missing Henderson, McCluskey, Stockdale. Like, you know.
And it is mental. And, like, talking, because I sent you the stats. I was meant to be working yesterday morning. I just couldn't. And I went through every single match that Ulster had lost had conceded a try.
Yes.
I think in the last
10 minutes.
10 minutes or a score. So round 4 against Sharks, they conceded 3. But the game was kind of over already.
Yeah.
No, sorry. Against the Sharks, they conceded 1, but they had the match won at that point. That's round 4. Round 5 conceded 3. They went from 3 points behind to 18 points behind.
Yeah.
You know, they were in the fight and then they just weren't. But they're 2 away games. You kind of go, okay, that happens. Know? Yeah. Next one was Cardiff away. A try and a pen cost them the game.
Yeah.
Leinster away cost them the match.
Yeah.
Connacht away gives us a losing bonus point.
Yep.
You know, in the sports ground. Scars away cost them the match in round 10. Ospreys away cost them a losing bonus point in round 12. Zebra away, no cost.
Yeah.
Europe, La Rochelle knockout game, no cost. Exeter knockout game at home, but no cost. Stormers at home cost them the win last week.
Yeah.
They got a draw. Round 18, Glasgow at home, cost them the win. So
they win even one of those 2 games, and they're currently in the top 8.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think that's the problem for Ulster is when you look into Montpellier next week. It's I won't even say closing out games, because they have closed out games that they're much further ahead in. You know, they know how to finish off a game, but.
I'm sorry, just for the count for people, that's 11 out of the 23 games, I think. Is what
12 of the 23
12
games.
Of the 23. So
over
half the games that they've played this season, they're conceding in the final 10 minutes, sometimes multiple times.
Yeah.
And out of that, about 7 of them, they end up losing the game as a result of that score. So it's a quarter of their games this season, basically, that or a third nearly, actually, that they've lost in the last 10 minutes of the game, because they haven't been able to contain the other team.
And they're going against a Montpellier team. They're going to be away from home.
Yeah.
They're not going to be familiar with, you know, and
you know,
it's not going to be a normal build-up week. You know, all these factors come in. And I think Montpellier
There'll be probably a big Montpellier crowd, given how close it is to Bilbao.
Exactly.
You know?
And I think all these things will kind of act against them if this is tight. And if that game is in the balance in the last 10 minutes, Ulster aren't winning. Like, I mean that in the sense, I don't see them winning because of the history of them playing away from home.
Yeah.
Is them not getting over the line.
Yeah, if they're not up by like 12.
Yeah, they need to be 2 scores ahead
Yeah.
to finish off the game. If it's anyway tight, I can see Montpellier.
There's a real risk there.
Real risk.
And Montpellier lost this week as well. And again, with a little bit, because they have an eye on next week.
Yeah, so and I think Connacht showed. If you look at the Connacht Montpellier match, you kind of see how they're going to
how they're going to go at Ulster.
At Ulster, and now Ulster are quite a good mauling team, so that won't be as devastating for them. But
with the injuries that they've got, and like the leaders that they're missing and stuff like that, and look, you know, we can probably talk about the 2 finals next week. But anyway, I would have Montpellier as favourites anyway going into this game.
Yes.
And I think based on... I actually think it's an interesting situation that if Ulster are chasing the game in the last 10 minutes, they probably have a chance to win it.
Yeah.
If they're being chased,
that's when
they're in trouble.
Yeah, it's really weird how that's how that seems to go there.
Yeah.
Like they're much better at just being ahead. Now that being said, the Cardiff game was a 10-point swing, so they went from being ahead but by 1 score. I think they need that 12-point cushion. You know, they need to be 2 scores ahead for that to not be. And that might
be again a little bit of the getting better as a team, right? Like, you know, where like you're getting out of that underdog mindset and that hunter mindset and getting into the hunted mindset, which is very different. Like it is different to like go out there and be a team that you're the favourites. Like I think Ireland have dealt with this over the years and have gotten better about it. Leinster have certainly dealt with it in terms of like 10 or 15 years ago, where like all of a sudden they're the top team, and it's like, okay, now you're expected to win, but that also means you're expected to beat teams well.
Yeah,
and they can do what they want against you. Like there's no expectation on them to beat you, and that's maybe a little bit of a shift in Ulster's mindset that they'll over the summer will probably change as well.
I just think this is the second year of the Richie Murphy project.
Yeah.
It's the first year he's had his full coaching team that he wants it.
Yeah.
I know that is changing next year. Again, there's one Dan McFarlane. Not Dan McFarlane. Dan McFarlane's the old coach. It's a different coach.
Yes.
It's Jimmy Duffy. There we go.
Yeah.
Jimmy Duffy's leaving over the summer, and so there will be another change there.
Yeah.
But in the main, it'll be his setup next year.
Yes.
He'll be happy. I think that new voice could be what just helps them, because a new voice every second year is always useful in professional sports. I'm a big fan of no one being coached for more than 4 years with the same exact
I
group.
would be similar. Kind of 4 to 5 is what I would have in my head as well, where you need to make some level of some types of changes. It doesn't have to be all the coaches or even the head coach,
tweaks with the coaching ticket the whole time always just helps keep it fresh.
Yeah.
And I think
going deep in tournaments as well, right? Like this is the first time they've gone this deep in Europe alongside trying to go deep in the URC.
And going on two fronts at the same time is incredible.
Losing 7 players into the Ireland squad is not something they had to deal with a year ago. You know what I mean? So there's like lots of shifts this year in Ulster's season that Richie Murphy and the team will be looking at, being like, okay, what lessons do we learn out of that? How do we balance that better? How can we... Like they'll be looking at these kind of stats as well, and I'm sure they'll have their own logic and reasons for why they lost these tight games, and what would they be looking to do differently next season in those close moments. I would imagine for Ulster it'll be more about the away wins. They had a poor away performance.
It seemed they weren't very good away from home all year, and that whole thing about the Ireland setup is kind of why I'm really happy we have a coach like Stu in Connacht.
Yeah,
he's done it. He knows it. He knows. He almost knows.
He's given up for 13 players for his whole starting team at times.
But I think the players he loses are now more essential to his team than what he was dealing with in Leinster and the system he was dealing with. Having that knowledge of kind of going how to bring players in, how to kind of integrate the game plan, how to make the game plan simple enough that if you're away for 6 weeks at a time, you can just pick it back up.
Yeah. And then if you're like that, you're the 5th choice hooker, you know what the game plan is. Yeah. If you're brought in on a given week and it's an important week, that you're able to slot into that game plan.
But that's the whole thing of like the academy training with the senior team. Yeah. And of course, that's just, when you say it, you kind of go, well, of course.
Obviously.
Yeah, obviously. Why wouldn't you do that? Especially with every province now going to have tighter budgets and everyone's kind of smaller squads. The academy's going to be more relied on. Yeah. It's like Billy Bone getting a 3-year contract. I'm like, what do you mean he's an academy player? Like, what do you mean? Yeah. You know, I forgot that happened like this week, and he gets Academy Player of the Year, the awards. Like, no, but he was in an international camp. You know, he nearly played in the Six Nations. How is he in the academy?
I don't know if Gus McCarthy's gotten the senior contract yet.
True.
At Leinster, I think he's still on. I think he's on his going into his final year of his academy contract.
So it's just mental, you know, when you kind of go when players have that type of breakout year. Yeah. That they're like, no, that's a profession. That's at least your 3rd year of rugby type of.
Yeah. You're a 27-year-old, 28-year-old rugby player, like
So it's all that side of it, which is really interesting. But Ulster lose. Connacht are now 7th, and we roll on to Saturday, and no other results mattered until the Munster match.
No, from a Connacht point of view.
But Leinster had their own fights in that top 8 because Stormers lost. So suddenly second
is a possibility. Yeah, and Glasgow won. So first is not a possibility.
At what point did you become the Simpsons meme, stop, they're already dead?
Probably around minute 17.
Yeah.
Like that is a Leinster of old performance that we have not seen in a long time, of just pure dominance in Dublin.
In 2 years minimum, I'd say.
Yeah, like honestly, under Nienaber, like whatever, you know, and that's not to knock him. It's a different style of rugby, but like this was a regular course, like in the regular season in week 1 to like 15, where you would just hockey the likes of an Ospreys.
But it wasn't in the sense that Leinster cut off the shackles and started playing rugby.
No. They played their game style.
They won 6 points by pressuring the bejesus out of Ospreys.
Like that smother, defense was just like they couldn't get any moment on the ball. Like they just were absolutely and utterly constantly under pressure,
getting ragdolled as well. It was just every single time Ospreys had the ball.
I would say Ospreys felt like they were in a fight. Like
Yeah.
that they got beat up, like not on the scoreboard, just like physically, because they just. It's like they like obviously it was that they wanted second. I think they probably used it as a little bit of like for like there'll be a good few of those players that'll be playing next weekend. Like it was a reduced Leinster team, but it wasn't like
No, it wasn't fully.
Like Gibson Park was out there, Tyke Furlong was out there, Caelan Doris was on the bench, Van der Fleer started,
McCarthy
played like
Mangan, who was like definitely eyeing on the bench spot for next week, starting coming back from injury.
Yeah, Jerry Kerr was there, and he's had to play in some of the bigger games and stuff. You know what I mean? Like Lowe had his first game back now, partly because Tommy O'Brien went out with a knock before the game started. Larmer's back trying to like fight his way into a team and like
no, and it definitely looked like people. I think those guys coming in, especially Lowe and Larmer, played like men possessed. Like,
and I will say for Lowe, so like Lowe has now equaled Shane Horgan's record for try scoring at Leinster, right? So which is like an amazing feat for him, and so like he will break that record, I think, between this year and next year
if he's re-signed.
Yes, he has not technically re-signed. There's no way he's not re-signed.
Yeah,
I don't know why it's taken as long as it is, but he's re-signed it. Like
it's the IRFU thing of age versus money. So it doesn't matter the province. The second you hit 32, you don't get 2-year contracts, and every player at the age of 32 wants a 2-year contract, and that becomes the sticking point always. That's why Kieran Marmion left Connacht. He was willing to take a pay cut.
Yeah.
To stay for 2 years. They go, no, we give away 1-year contracts, and that's always been the thing. John Muldoon said it like when he retired. Everyone goes to 1-year rolling contracts, and you go like, and you're signed again, until you're like, your body's let you down now. Yeah. Good luck. Goodbye. Thank you very much. And it's just in case 2 years at a 32-year-old, one bad knock, and you're
sitting there for 2 years. Yeah.
But I was impressed with Leinster in terms of the tempo. Their set piece moves are working a lot better. Now, granted, Ospreys they had their hubcap last week. They were on a sunny beach somewhere in Spain. I don't think they were even Wales. They'd left the country.
Yeah, they were poor, right? There's no doubt about it. They were poor.
And you can only beat the team in front of you.
Yeah.
All that type of stuff.
All that kind of stuff. And I think it was, like, to be fair to Ospreys, right? Like, Leinster showed up, like, with intent. Because I think for Leinster as well, it was like, second is on the table now, guys. This means you're in Dublin till at least the final, and who knows what happens to Glasgow. Yeah, like they went because that was the prospect that was facing us in the Champions Cup, was that we were going to have to go away to Glasgow in a semi, and they got knocked off.
You do know if Glasgow are in the final, it's been playing in Belfast.
I know. It will annoy Glasgow to no end. And I will delight in it a lot. But I, first of all, think that there's a good chance Connacht knock off Glasgow. I know people don't think that.
A lot of people have said that. Well, I know people going over.
Connacht are a difficult team to beat, and Glasgow have struggled in knockout games this year.
Against teams who are difficult to beat.
So let's see. But you know what I mean? I think that's where Leinster are coming from, of like, second is on the table. There's a non-zero chance that second means we get home all the way to a final if we get there.
You know, you're playing in Belfast if you get to a final.
Oh, we are playing Belfast as well. Yeah,
there's no Dublin final.
2 hours up the road.
It's so funny how like it could be Glasgow,
home country,
home. It's just funny how
we can't play in Croker.
Croker because of the guy Aviva has a concert. The same thing's happening in two cities in Scotland.
I think it would be very funny to go to Páirc Uí Chaoimh. Just to really annoy Munster.
No, I think you would. If anything, where you go to Thomond, you would. Or if you would go to Thomond, it is bigger capacity than Ravenhill. Affidea, whatever, and it's that would be even funnier for me.
That would be funnier. Thomond would be funnier.
Imagine Thomond covered in blue.
I mean, the tires that get slashed on the bus.
They'll be.
But anyway, look, outside that, so I think, look, Leinster, there's not much to talk about in the Leinster game. I would say outside, like, they played really well. It was really good to see Larmer back and like playing good. The opposition is always going to make that look a little bit better than it is in that sense.
Robbie Henshaw had a game where he was like, oh yes, you know, it was that kind of like, of course, that's what he's able to do. And McCarthy hat trick. You know, it's very hard to talk about a game when you win 6 points. Do you know the worst thing about that game was? It's ruined the stat of no game in the URC had gone over 60 points. Whereas in every other league they had done so far.
Well, I'm glad that at least Leinster got to do that before the end of the season.
You know, because I spent the evening before like moaning online about Northampton. Was it Northampton Bears being 90 something?
Crazy.
Like a stupid score. You know, that rugby shouldn't ever
basically
to.
like
It's
basically a sevens game with 15 players.
Yeah, and then Leinster nearly did looked like they were going to hit 80 points at one point, and they just took
the foot off.
Took the foot off.
Yeah, when the subs came in, they're just like,
this is fine.
We don't need to actually push ourselves. We've actually got a final next week that we much more want to win than this game, and we have won this game.
Because Leinster got knocks, and we're not putting on subs. We're going to finish with 13.
Yeah,
we'll happily finish with less players. We don't need to put bodies back onto here.
This is
and that was good coaching and captains.
I don't like it. I never
and,
like when they don't put players back on. You play with 14 or 13. I think it's really disrespectful to the opponent.
Yeah.
But if I was in that situation, I was Leo Cullen, 100% I would do the same thing. I'm not putting Gibson Park back out on that pitch. What are you talking about? Absolutely not.
He's injured. Is he really? Sure.
Yeah.
It's like
he's got a nasty hangnail.
Yeah. But yeah, it was hard to really talk, to think about the game in that.
It's one of those no glory games, right? It's one of those no lessons to learn other than you did what you are supposed to do in a game like that, which is put a team like Ospreys that you are meant to what that will have done. I think for Leinster is just particularly for that second group of players, because who knows what will happen this week, and for some of the core as well, is it will just build a bit of momentum and confidence going into a final week.
Yeah.
You won a semi-final that was a tough semi-final, but you won it well.
It's a momentum boost.
You're building that momentum and you're on song. So it's the confidence in the game plan, in the fact again, right? They didn't win. They won this in the Nienaber style. They won it that was it probably at its best looking in terms of what it can do to a much weaker team.
Yeah.
And that would be great. We just do that again, knowing we're not going to score 60 points, but we need to do that again and just up the intensity even further next week. And that's what they'll take out of the game, I think.
Definitely. It's a good win. And then it secures second. And it's very much, that's the season
secured for lack of a better term.
It's really weird.
It's money in the bank, right? Is the other way to look at it. It's a home quarter and
possibly a home semi.
So that's money in the bank for Leinster. That would be another way they look at it. Great. It's two more 30,000 seat games maybe and stuff like that, which will be important.
And it's it's an extra contract. It's an extra boost in someone's contract at the end of next year.
It's James Lowe signing.
James, we can afford you now.
We can afford you now. We'll sign that contract on Monday.
But it is that that's the type of stuff that could be waiting. They could be waiting.
He's never been on a central contract.
No,
James Lowe. Mad.
It's odd.
It's really mad that he's never been on a central contract, given how important he has been to Ireland.
Yeah,
and he is Leinster's top try scorer almost. Never been on a central contract. I'm fascinating. Clearly, he's happy to be on the Leinster contracts to a certain degree and is getting paid for it. But
I wonder if he just has Leinster been in one of those environments and no one says what they're all earning, and he's just copped that. Hold on a second, you're all earning what?
I hope not. That would be unfair for him. But it's just a mad one.
No, once again, I go back to an old John Muldoon interview. There's bands. If you're in the province for this year, you're in this. There's bands.
Yeah, people know.
But no, good win, and it led on to the Munster match, which I thought there wasn't a team as stupid as the Stormers until I watched Lions play on Saturday night.
Yeah, it was an interesting game. We had a lot of we've had a lot of conversation about Munster over the season and their inability to perform with particularly without Byrne, but also without Crowley. And usually without Casey, right? Those three in particular.
Yes.
And I would argue in that order.
Yes.
Right? They've had Casey at times and not had Crowley and Byrne, and they haven't played well. They've had Crowley and Casey and not Byrne, not played well, all that kind of thing. But when they're missing all three of them, they play awful.
Yeah.
And that we've been complaining about some of the next generation of players
not stepping up,
not taking those leadership positions that we would expect them to do. The likes of a Tom Ahern, the likes of Coombs, even some of the front rowers as well, the ones that have come in.
And I would. It was one of those things where I was talking about it after the match, and Casey had a phenomenal game.
He was amazing. He was great.
He literally dragged Munster kicking and screaming to that win.
He was great. That's easily, I would say, certainly his best performance this year in a Munster jersey. Arguably his best performance ever in a Munster jersey, I would say. Easily.
And I think this is the issue with Casey, and it's what Munster what Munster are all about this year, about raising the floor. That was their whole thing, you know, when this management took over. We're gonna raise the floor, you know. And I said it with Keane Prendergast, his floor now tends to be a 7 out of 10.
Yes.
You know, he doesn't play below 7 out of 10.
Yeah.
I think the problem for Casey is his floor is a 4 out of 10.
True.
And
his consistency. Yeah.
And his ability to have games like that at 9 out of 10 or 10 out of 10 is there.
Yeah.
But when he's not on,
it's a bit of a Sam Prendergast problem.
yeah, it's a big drop off. It's a huge it's a valley. It's not a he's just passing a bit worse. He
It's probably what leads to Doak leapfrogging him.
For me, yeah, like
Because
it's
it's that
whole
consistency, right? Like it's like obviously Schmidt was a big fan of it in his time in Ireland and stuff like that. But like at international rugby, particularly coming into World Cup here, you need your 7 and 8 out of 10 players. Like your 10 out of 10 on a day is great, but like you would need to go into a tournament. You need to win 6-7 games in a row. Your 7 and 8 out of 10 players are the ones that are going to do that for you.
Yeah, I think it's going to be Gibson Park, Doak, then Casey in 1, 2, 3 for Ireland. Don't see.
You don't see Devine or Murphy taking that slot?
Not yet, not before World Cup. Andy Farrell does not mess with his team that much. I don't see it yet. Ben Murphy and John Devine have the problem that Casey doesn't. He can box kick. His worst day, his box kicking is quite good.
It's quite good.
And at an international level, he needs to be able to box kick well.
Yeah.
And everyone, I think this is the drum I beat the most.
Yeah.
It's bugged me for all the Connacht nines since Kieran Marmion. Even Keenan Blade, incredible player, isn't the best box kicker in the world.
Yeah.
You need that. Just has to be a de facto.
Is it a factor of the wind out there? They just don't box kick enough.
They don't box kick well anywhere. You know what I mean?
But you know what I mean? Like they don't do it enough in practice because they're dealing with wind on a daily basis. That is like the worst wind in the league.
But that means you should be able to judge your kicks better.
You would think so.
That to me is like you should be able to train it better.
Yeah.
And now they have an indoor training facility. You know,
so
I want to see Ben Murphy leap forward in that ability in the next and before. I want to see him leap forward in that anyway. I think that will lead him then going into Ireland's
box kicking like you can't not be an international 10.
Yeah, because like go back to Casey, he had a really good game. Literally kicked and dragged the team over that line. Yeah. He fought for everything.
I thought Gleeson was good as well. I thought Gleeson stepped up. We saw like why Gleeson is.
Definitely. I think Gleeson for me was player of the match over Casey slightly. This is not to damn the man of any praise. I think that's the best I've ever seen. Jack O'Donoghue play. And I'm not a fan of Jack O'Donoghue. I think he's he's
a good club player, and I've never thought much more of him outside that, to be honest.
And I think he had one of his better games in a Munster jersey.
I'd agree.
In that sense of he did what you want your good club player to do. That was
again back to floor and ceiling, right? Like it's like he is he needs to be a solid 7. Like he's probably never going to go above an 8, that kind of thing, and just like always deliver at that level. Like Ross Maloney was that at Leinster for a long time, where it's like just a really good player, like just at 7 and 8 out of 10 consistently, week on, week out, but is not going to be the quote unquote difference maker in winning a game.
Yeah.
Difference maker in losing a game, but not in winning a game.
And I think when you kind of go those moments then for Munster across the game, the 2 yellow cards, like they're brain dead. Like the second one. The first one genuinely could have been a penalty try. Like if that was,
should have been. If that was close, that's 10 meters further.
It was inside 22. That's a penalty try.
100%.
One without a shower.
When he asked the question, I thought it was like, is he going to do something like that is going to get him lynched in this stadium right now?
PRD was like Munster fans don't like PRD at the best of times. It's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was really weird to see just how blatant that was. And then Sean O'Brien does
the same thing, but worse.
Yeah, weirdly.
More obviously.
In
a more dangerous part of the pitch.
Yeah. And he was lucky there was just more defenders, because that was definitely a penalty try.
100%. Yeah.
But then what killed me is Lions went, and this is me as like...
We have 13 men.
Yeah. Not even that. This is me not wanting Munsters to lose or anything, but in this kind of like someone who enjoys rugby. And enjoys rugby being played well.
Yes.
And then seeing team go, they have less backs than us. Let's keep it up the forwards. Like, oh my good God.
Let's not kick the ball back there.
Yeah.
Or do some 50-50 contestables when they've got 2 less people to jump for it because they basically don't have anybody on the wings anymore.
Or let's just not play wing to wing. Because they did it once and scored a try. Yeah. And then didn't do it again.
And then
conceded a try.
Didn't put more bodies into the breakdown when they had a 2-man advantage to win the ball back and conceded a try.
Yeah, it was just so stupid. And look, I think that's what Munster will take from this. They're all like, it was blood, it was guts, it was thunder, it was all those kind of like Munster isms, whatever you want to call it. It was the hard way. The Munster was like, but it was still poor. And a
little bit lucky.
It was incredible. Like you played just slightly better than a team that had no brain.
Yeah, they tactically did not manage a kind of 6-minute period and then wider kind of 25-minute period where you were down players. And like, yes, you had some standout players who dragged you over the line against a team that, if they had been paying attention, would have beaten you.
Yeah.
Or certainly would have run up a score that would have made it incredibly difficult for you to claw your way back into the game.
And where they are in the league because it's 7 home games in a row. You know, and and you know, that type of momentum. And apparently this was the game that Lions targeted in Ireland. Like last week was a bit like you know, like we'll get through that. Munster are there for the taking. Like that was the Lions,
which is a reasonable would have been a reasonable stance. I wouldn't have disagreed with them in that stance.
Because it's interesting because we've talked about Munster having a poor season.
Yeah,
but they've won 11 games. You know, like and it's that whole thing.
But that's because they had a great opening 5 rounds.
Yeah, but I think we think they've had a poor season in terms of performance.
Yes,
you know, like winning matches is great. You know what I mean? Like, but that Macmillan floor isn't any higher. You know that he's come in to raise isn't any higher.
Yeah,
they don't have an attacking plan per se.
No,
you know it's
they're winning by grit, right? Like I think that's the thing. Like it's they feel like a team from 15 years ago.
Yeah,
and which I mean like. And like that, all that kind of Munsterisms, but like sportisms, right? That like the heart win, the moral victories, the fighting for each other, the believing in each other. I'm like, yeah, but that's sort of bread and butter. Like you can't.
That's the base.
That's the base. But it's also like, you know, not to, you know, because most fans are getting annoyed when you comparing to Leinster, right? But like the success that Leinster built was not based off that heart. It was based off incredibly consistent performance.
So next week is 20 years from that European win. Yeah. You know, where Munster then were one of the best teams in Europe, in Ireland for, you know, the guts of a cup. You know,
decade prior.
Like, you know, like they were up there and about, and it was based on
guts and heart,
but tactical awareness of good kicking and playing in the right areas of the pitch, and you know,
a strategy around attack. We are going to maul the absolute arse off
there was a plan there to work with what they had.
Yeah.
And if you judge this Munster team by their standards, which is that Munster team, you know, they are
that Munster team beats this Munster team.
Oh, they don't even. It's not even a.
Which should never be the case in professional sport.
Yeah.
A team of 20 years ago, like
playing the same game plan.
But like even like in general, right, as a complete aside, but like any team from 20 years ago, no matter how good they were, are likely to lose to an average team today because the standards have improved so much, the strategy has improved so much, and the quality of the players has improved so much.
Yeah.
In any sport, you pick any team-based sport, a team from 20 years ago is likely to lose to a team today. Plain and simple.
And I think Munster, the thing in Munster fans, and I will talk about our friend in this, that Munster win is where they all go back to. They don't even talk about the URC win a couple of years ago. You know, it goes back to the glory days of that win. Yeah. I'm like, okay, but that team had a plan, lads. And that team looked like they knew what they were doing. I don't know what Munster are doing on that pitch half the time.
Yeah, it's a good point, right? Like I think again, right, to maybe draw that comparison to Leinster, because Munster do want to compare themselves at times to Leinster. Like people complain about Ninaber and they complain about like how Leinster have performed this season, and like I would be one of the first people to say that Leinster have not performed well this season. I think we are in a European Cup final mainly based on luck of the draw.
Yeah,
we got the easy side of the draw. We did not face a Toulouse or a Bordeaux in a semi, and we avoided just a lot of the harder teams on the route through. That's the way it goes. I'm not complaining. You
won the URC. You got that's what the benefit of winning the URC. You know,
the benefit of winning the URC. Didn't play great last year, but equally would be the first person to point out. It's like, well, we played great regular seasons in the years prior, and then had it fall apart at the end of the season. I'm very happy to be proven wrong this year and say, yeah, you know what? We peaked at the right moment, which was the final in Bilbao. That is the moment that we needed to peak, and we peaked there, and we've gotten that wrong in previous years. Fantastic. Great, well done, Ninaber, proving the world-class coach that he is at a club level, you know, all that kind of thing. And, you know, in that performance sense. But, like, I do know what he's trying to do. Like, you know what I mean? All of that aside, I'm like, yeah, but I get what you're trying to do. Whether I like it, whether it's the right way to do it, whether it'll win you club rugby, that's a whole other conversation. But I know what Leinster are attempting to do.
No more than Ulster are a team based on having quite, and I mean this in the nice, they have a petit general of a 9 who dictates the play. They have a baller of a 12 that will be a black hole, and they have a good good pack that can mull. And everything else they do is threads around that.
Yes,
you
they
know,
have a winger that, like, the likes of Balakoon, who can do a bit of magic every now and again.
But
that's separate.
Everything's designed to give Balakoon or Ward that moment. You know, it's designed to give McCluskey or that one-on-one. You know, everything's designed to get those moments. You know, I said it before, when Farrell was at 13, their game plan seemed to be give it to Farrell and hopefully he offloads out the corner type of thing. Stuart Lancaster's Connacht, it's pressure and defence and make sure your blindside winger, or there's always an extra option of every backline carry to make sure you're creating some form of disruption in their defence. Leinster is the Niemann away. Munster, I don't know. Like I
certainly in attack. I think you can see it a little bit more in defence. It's very classic Munster defence kind of stuff.
It is,
but
and
it's not. But attack, I don't know what the shape is at all. Like
in defence, it's very much get them to ground after holding them up for 2 seconds and make sure you fall enough on the wrong side where you don't give away a penalty.
Or it's like let Tadhg do what he does in breakdowns and win you the ball.
And chuck yourself at enough breakdowns to win the ball and just make everything messy. And so you always have 14 players, as many players on their feet as possible ready to go, you know. Their defensive stuff, I get, they've been doing it for the last 10 years. And every team is annoyed by Munster doing it for the last 10 years. But it's what they do. They do it quite well. And they're going into next year with an attack coach. And I don't see where this next identity, and Munster can have a good year results-wise, but genuinely, you look at what that team is like on the pitch, you look at what the team is, so the system is like off the pitch, Munster should be performing better with the players they have. It's performing better.
It's a bit like what we're talking about with Edinburgh, right? Yeah. Like they should be greater than some of their parts, but I think the difference there is when we talked about that with Edinburgh, it's more, we know these are good players. Like, we know Duan van der Merwe is a great player. We know that Tuapolata is a great player. Like, we've seen them play great in other teams. With Munster, outside of Tadhg and Jack Crowley and Casey, it's more like there's great potential here.
Yeah.
The likes of Edwin Adogbo, the likes of Gleeson, the likes of
and
Tom
watching
Ahern,
Gleeson have that type of game, you're like, yes, that's why.
But why hasn't he had 4 of those games, 10 of those games this season? Now, I know he's been injured and stuff like that, but you know what I mean? Like,
and I think he will have more of those games. Next year will be his breakout season. I hope. I think it's going to be more, he's going to take the reins from Coombs at 8. I think that'll be it.
Yeah.
And once that jersey's his, you'll see that step up.
But, like, why isn't Tom Ahern not, in the Ireland picture?
But I always go back to what's the role of the coaches in Ireland.
Yeah.
Stuart Lancaster fundamentally knows.
Yes.
My job is to improve the players.
Yeah.
That's it. Improved, and what's happened, he's improved every player there. Ulster are performing better. I know we've said something about the last 10 minutes. That's something.
But that's head coach at a club level. That's strategy.
That's strategy level, not like individuals level. So each player is performing.
The evidence of Richie Murphy improving the players is that 7 players were in the Ireland squad this year versus 1 last year, or whatever it was. You know what I mean? That's the difference in what he has made to that group of players.
Exactly. So, and I think that's
Connacht as well, right? Like, in terms of Lancaster and
there'll be more
of those players getting called up into the secondary squad, and next year we will see more again.
And there's more in the discussion where we can actually genuinely say, like, Sean Jansen, Darren Murray, Billy Bowen, Sam Milo. We can kind of go through the spine of the team.
Everyone's talking about Seamus Hurley-Langton getting qualified for Ireland next year, and all that kind of
course.
Stuff. Like,
Ben Murphy, Devine.
Sam Milo. Billy Bowen, even, like, there's lots of players there.
And that's the thing. Whereas you kind of look through the Munster front row, you don't want them near an Ireland squad. Like,
no, or they're like, again, Leinster throwaways. No offense, I don't mean that to be mean to the players, but like they're player like say Michael Milne and stuff like that, who like struggled to get long term in Leinster, and then when the squad shrunk, okay, he's gone to another province, he's gone to Munster. But he hasn't kicked on from there.
No, Milne and Ainger next year, maybe with that kind of knowledge of each other. With Barron, one of the 2 Barons, should be like the solid front row.
You would hope so, yeah.
And there's the elements are there for Munster to be a better team on the pitch than they are.
Yeah.
And I think that when people talk about Munster having a bad year, it's performance. It's not results. Like, no, because they've won more games than
they're in the 8th.
They're in the top 8. They haven't. They have never not been in the top 8 of the URC.
They had a bad Champions Cup, sure.
Yeah,
but that's also not the first year they've had a bad Champions Cup.
No, and it happens. But they are not playing well. They are playing badly at the right times against teams. They're getting away. I would say they've almost got away with their bad performances against teams who've played worse. Yeah, more so than anything else.
Yeah, and I think our I don't want to speak for you, but like our criticism of Munster this season, which has been a lot,
Yes.
I think for me anyway, I'll speak for me personally, is more born out of frustration, right? Where it's like, again, there's a bit of this sort of like, obviously the kind of rivalry element to it, and like the Munsterisms and the talking about how great they are, and you're like, what have you done really other than win the URC a couple of years ago, which again was a good feat, but like a little bit of an outlier in terms of how the seasons have gone. But in general, it's frustration because it's like there's so much, like, you know, and like I'll use it again because I've used it for years, and you know, Jason, who's been on the podcast, like will joke about this as a Munster fan about like Gavin Coombs, right? But Gavin's like I'm hard on Gavin Coombs because I am frustrated that Gavin Coombs is not the player that he was meant to be 4 years ago.
Like Tom Ahern will start to get that frustration if he doesn't get on. And I know for Tom Ahern, it's
Edwin
injuries.
Ndogba was another one, right?
Yeah.
Like, and I know it's been injuries for Edwin Ndogba as well. He's done both his ACLs and stuff like that. But like I know, like the rumor is part of the reason he wasn't featured more in the Ireland team this year was fitness.
It was fitness thing.
And you're like, how that for a professional rugby player, fitness outside of like you are literally injured up until the week, which he was not, should not be the reason. He should be the fittest man on the field in many ways because he's been in the gym.
If you look at the last 10 minutes of that Munster Lions match, if you look at the last 10 minutes of the Connacht match, and just to draw a parallel, Connacht lads are bouncing up and going again. Where both Lions and Munster look like, Jesus, we've got 10 more minutes to play. You know, and that it's that side of it of Munster's performances not being great, and that was Casey literally kicking the ball right and dragging tooth and nail that team up the pitch. You know, even as a captain, I think he's got the burn thing of he's going to piss off the ref. You know, he
was too chatty.
He's almost too narky in his shot. It's like, and he had to be, especially with, you know, the complaint he had at the spitting and stuff. And he had to be. He'd be really forceful at that, but he's that all the time. I think that's
find that balance. Now, like, I'll give him grace there in terms of like he's not been captain often at this.
And
level,
there's a frustration what he's doing.
Yeah, and in fairness to him, it's his first time captain in Munster in Thomond. It's an incredibly important game, but they're missing other leaders on the pitch.
Yes.
He's stepping up into a big role. So like, I get a little bit why he's probably pushing the envelope a little bit there. But that's also, again, if his team around him are playing better, he doesn't need to be in the ref's ear as much.
I would also like to give out tactically about Munster not taking the 3 at the end when they had the penalty advantage. Like, there was less than a minute on the clock. That was the best way to eat up the time, in my opinion. Taking that 3, possibly not letting the Lions have lose a bonus point would have been great.
Yeah.
But now Connacht have to rely on Montpellier and Ulster's results, or just win the URC outright. Which
is easier.
With the form,
just do that one.
With the form, would knock out. If Ulster and Connacht both win,
Munster
Lions are 7th
because they're 7th.
Lions 7th won't be in the Champions Cup next year, which is, I emailed the URC to find out and just to be sure. And the amount of times I've said that to people this week.
Same. I've had to relay it to quite a few people to be like, this scenario, while statistically unlikely, not impossible.
Not impossible. So if Connacht do it, it will be definitely the hard way and possibly a weekend in Belfast for all.
I mean, look, it's 10 years on, right?
10 years. There's something in the water. No. And even
there was some other stat, wasn't there, about like, in terms of, there was something, I'd need to look it up again.
I think if we end up beating Glasgow on the run in the URC, you're like, oh, stars are aligning, you know. But then there's a weekend of Stormers possibly, you know. That's
you gotta go away to Glasgow and then away to Stormers and then possibly away to Leinster if it would end up in Leinster, like, you know.
But weirdly, there's a scenario where Connacht will host the final. You know, it's if the right team, No, we're
but genuinely, like myself and my father-in-law were talking about. It's like, I'm glad Leinster have avoided Connacht in the first round.
Yeah, we're just a pain.
I was like, after, because like particularly if we lose the Champions Cup final, I was like, I think we'd be ripe to be taken by a Connacht in that situation. Like, you know what I mean? That
it's Lions you have, and I think
Lions is a better, like, and Lions have to come up to us.
Yeah, so it's a better match for Leinster, definitely. But yeah, Connacht finished the regular season 8th, Ulster in 9th, Munster in 5th. And that's, once again, is like, that season looks fine on paper, you know?
Yeah.
And a few years' time, no one's going to remember all the stuff that's happened off the pitch. But in the moment, Munster performance level isn't where they want it to be. Like, let's forget about us, like, holding to a standard. Munster fans don't want this performance level.
Munster want to be in the Heineken Cup, in the Champions Cup final next weekend.
Yeah.
They want to be in the top 2 so that they're top seeds for next season and have home games and are winning titles
Yeah.
and in the chance to win both titles that they can win in a given season.
And
that's where they want to be, and they absolutely should be aiming for that. They have the pedigree, they have the resources, they have the talent to be in that position in the URC, but they need to get the organisation right. And a little bit the coaching ticket. Their coaching ticket has been chopped and changed, and
so often.
Since Axel, basically,
Yeah.
and obviously nothing to do with that situation, but just that was a whole thing. But since Razzie and all that kind of thing, it's just been never settled.
Chaos. Yeah. And if Clayton McMillan decides he's done with this setup, if he doesn't like the review, that's another missed year for, and it's a missed year for the players. Forget, and at the end of the day,
the fans and stuff like that,
the fans, but it's a missed year for the players if they're trying to do something, and
they're coming into a World Cup year. You know what I mean? You're coming into where you would ideally need some of these guys to have their breakout year next year to be those players in the World Cup. You know what I mean? To be I would love nothing more than Gleeson and Ahern and Adogbo to be holy crap! These guys are unplayable, and there's unbeatable, and you just need to put them on the plane.
And there's nothing to say that won't happen, but it's more that kind of.
But a disruptive coaching ticket makes it less likely to happen.
Harder, and I think that's the big thing.
Yeah.
So they finished 5th in the league.
Yeah.
Leinster second,
which is a really good finish given how the league went this year. I was not confident. If you'd asked me this question before Christmas, I'd have been top 4 if we're lucky. And then even coming into a month ago, I would have still said, prior to that Benetton game, I'm okay, there's a path there.
Yeah.
And then when they lost to Benetton, I'm will we make top 3?
That URC season, though, I think overall has been incredible.
Oh yeah,
the fact that Leinster and Glasgow were losing games and Stormers were losing games has just made this much more competitive chat about this.
Yeah.
Yes, there's only 9 teams technically that in the last 2 weeks that could have made anything, but there's so much happening within that that made every match important. Whereas last year, technically up until 14th could have got into the top 8, but realistically everything above 7th was set.
Yeah.
And that was kind of.
Well, Leinster were on 73 points going into the last weekend last year.
They're down 15 points in this year, and that's a huge thing. Connacht are up 15 points as well, and.
If you think about some of the talking points we had at the start of the season, right, and even before we started recording, you and I, when we were talking about okay, it's obviously Connacht focus. I'm a Leinster fan, so we'll talk about Leinster when it's relevant. When they start losing games, which will probably be a month out before the end of the season when they start sending out children, and week 1,
yes,
we had to start talking about. But every week there has been something to talk about with Leinster, with Munster, with the 4 provinces.
Yeah, where something's and where something has gone wrong in game, where that this game now is we're talking about, or because the league itself has everyone's traded wins. Yeah, every match has been on. And the result of that Dragons game, how much is that biting Connacht in the arse? Not getting that bonus point against Edinburgh.
The Glasgow win in the Six Nations break week, that was a massive win,
and that's the launch. If you could say that's almost the launch to the last 7 games we've had in the URC. So it's all those elements. Everything has had its importance. Yeah. Whereas if you have a year like last year where Leinster, Stormers, and Glasgow are away, those matches don't have as much importance. Not that they don't have as much importance, more.
There's not as much to talk about. It's okay, well, if they win because they've won again. Great.
But it doesn't have
march on. There's no stakes to it.
Exactly. Where this year the whole league was stakes every week.
Way. And even at that, we talked about it for the last number of weeks about the 50 points, right? Being the 54 is what you need in the end. You know what I mean? It's a lot more than 50. It's an extra win you got to get.
Because I remember saying a couple of weeks ago, there will be a team on 52 points who won't make top 8.
Yeah, you're right.
And 54 was
Ulster stood on 52.
And actually, do you know what we do before we go into the women's?
Women, I think another note though there as well, right? If you look across the wins, the difference in the league position really is bonus points here. Yeah. Because the wins are actually quite close. I think Leinster have 11 wins. I think Glasgow have 12. Yeah. And then all the way down to Ulster. Ulster are 10.
And Ulster on 9.
And Ulster on 9. That's it's 2 wins. Yeah. Is the difference. But even going into this weekend, so if you looked at Ospreys versus Leinster had 11 wins going in. Osprey I think had 9, possibly 8.
8.
But Leinster had 14 bonus points. And Ospreys had 7, I think it was, or something, or 6. And that's the difference maker. It's getting 4 tries, staying within 7, That's what's getting you into the top 8 this season.
I do wonder what the difference would be in the bonus point system if we went to the French system.
We had to win by 2.
Yeah,
Two
well,
tries.
you got to win by 2 tries, and there's no losing bonus. You can't get. You can't get
7.
if
You can't get 2 losing bonus points.
And if you win, you can't get a bonus point if you give up a bonus point.
Oh yeah.
You know, all that type of stuff. You know, so like,
there'd be a lot of math there.
there's a lot of. I ain't doing that,
No.
but you know, it's that type of thing of like, I wonder what the difference would be.
Yeah, it'd be interesting.
It would be like genuinely would be
I
interesting.
mean, you'd play the games different at the other point as well, right?
Yeah.
Like, you chase them differently.
It just makes it a lot more different.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, because there's no notes, there's no Irish of the week.
No.
Do you want to think of a word and make me wing it?
Or I have to wing it first, and then you have to wing it on the back of that.
Do you want?
I'll give you one, right? From today, from the
Yeah.
leading into the women's game, and we talked about this a little bit earlier on at the top of the podcast, right? I won't give you a big word in English, but let's see if it's a big word in Irish, which is like atmosphere or energy or the vibe of the thing.
We'll go with energy because
Yeah.
atmosphere is atmosphere.
Yeah.
But energy is funyuv. And we're both at the Aviva in Lions Road today.
Yes.
The Aviva. There was a different energy in the Aviva than any time I've been there, even for men's matches. Bhín funyuv san Aviva intach. Bhín er dini óga on. Bhín er spree on. And that's what made today special. That atmosphere, that energy, the amount of young people there just brought a joy to the occasion, and it was a joy to be there.
Yeah.
Incredible win aside, just being involved in that atmosphere, and I've parts of Finnish sin a concede, just like Ban Solston Law. I goes an Okod. That's what was incredible. Just being there, talk to people, enjoying the day, being part of the occasion.
Yeah,
that was really important, and I hope we see more people at the Aviva going forward. I think there'll be definitely one game next year in the Aviva.
Yeah. But you'll also have like 32,000 people leaving that stadium. I mean, like, that was a great atmosphere. 100% you should go to
Come
that.
back there again.
My wife said to me, "Is like, why would I ever go to a men's Six Nations game rather than this?" And it was 25 quid for the ticket.
Yeah.
Like, it'll probably be more next year. But just to be clear. But like, you know what I mean? Even if it's 40 quid next year, that's a hell of a lot cheaper than the men's
and
tickets.
it's still a steal, and
You know,
you're getting good rugby, and you're getting a great atmosphere. And we'll segue into the game because I'm getting someone to feed a bottle to a child. So we will try and get through this a bit, not rush through the match. But once again, it is Aoife Wafer's world and we are living in it.
This is true.
You know,
perfect half of rugby by Ireland. That first half.
Yeah, I think.
Any notes?
And
my only note was I thought the kicking from hand into backfield at times could have been better. As in like position, like just picking the spot, trying to find space in the backfield.
Yes.
Wasn't as good as it could have been, but Scotland had 3 in the backfield for most of the first half, so that makes it real hard to find space back there.
But that's because Ireland kicked long. You know, it's a tactic I'm not a fan of. But when you win a half 45-0, what can
You've scored 4 tries in 16 minutes. It's sort of hard to complain about anything in that half.
And you even had someone like worldy tries where was it Parsons or O'Connor like dances through 5 players before like giving the simple 2-on-1. The simple 2-on-1 pass.
I think it was O'Connor. It was, yeah.
And just this lovely to Waver who scores under the post. So you're kind of going.
But there was just some unbelievable scores, like Waver's try that she like did the dive for and stuff like that, where she dummied and stuff, just like made a fool of the opposition in that moment, which is like.
Do you think the defender is still looking for Aoife Wafer?
Probably,
you know,
like, and she flattened a couple of players at times. Like, she was just
her carry. There was one time she ran at the fullback and she hit her and it was like, what, is the fullback allowed to stay on now?
Yeah,
you know, like, I felt bad for some of the Scottish players trying to tackle her. Yeah. But even Erin King played well.
Yeah.
Everyone across the board played really well.
Eve Higgins had a great game at 12.
Yeah.
Like she again picked, like, there was one point where like in the first half, one of the tries, I think she ended up scoring. I can't remember if it was her that scored it in the end, but like, you know, they were drifting as you would expect, and she just cut back inside and just like turned 3 of them and was gone. I was just some amazing play.
And I think what the biggest talking point will be the second half. How Ireland just went, don't need to do any of that anymore. We'll just play one-up rugby for exactly 40 minutes. Yeah. And everyone's kind of going to go, oh, they fell off. No, they just
didn't need to keep playing at that intensity.
And it was actually, you carry the ball now.
Yeah.
And you carry the ball now. Because there was a point where it could have got to a stage where they were looking across the pitch going, who hasn't scored a try yet? Because it could have been that point like, do you want to try now? We'll set up one for you, you know, and we could have got there if that game. And it would have been nice to break the record, which was set against Scotland
11 years ago.
11 years ago, where Ali Miller scored, I think, 3 or 5 of her many tries for Ireland. But no, it was a fantastic day. The rugby on the pitch solidified everything has happened around it. You know, I think that's what it needed, and it felt that this Irish team needs a crowd. Best performances they've had this year were
big crowds. You could see it in the team as they came out.
The energy, there's an energy there.
We were facing the team, like we were on that side of on the west stand, and like there was such a reaction for when they came out on the pitch, and like the anthems being sung, particularly Ireland's Call was incredibly loud. Like again, 55,000 people at a men's match do not sing it anywhere near as well as the 32,000 that were at this game. Not even close. And like I've been at. So I've seen this to a few people already. Like, it was a World Cup. It was a World Cup atmosphere, and what I mean by that is, I've been at Six Nations games, and I have had the privilege of being at Ireland's last 3 World Cups: France, Japan, England, /Wales. I've been at those World Cups, and World Cup atmospheres are fantastic.
Yeah,
right. They are.
It's what get people into the game.
100%, and like being at World Cup games, like the atmosphere is amazing. And every World Cup game I've been at, there's been at least one game where there's been an amazing atmosphere. That was Ireland v France in the group stages in 2015.
Yeah.
It was Ireland against Japan in Japan. And it was Ireland against South Africa in France.
Yes.
Right? Unbelievable atmospheres. This is in a similar category, to be clear.
Yeah.
Like just the engagement of the crowd, the energy of the crowd. And the difference is, compared to a normal Six Nations men's game in the Avivas, it is a crowd that wants to be there for the rugby.
Definitely.
They're there to support the team, not for the day out.
But
they're also there for the day out, but they're there because they like following this team.
But also, the tickets were affordable.
Yeah.
And people...
It's families. It's younger people. It's people, like, essentially on a holiday in that sense. Like, they're out for the day. It's not, like, cost them 500 quid to bring their 4 friends and stuff like that. You know what I mean?
It's just the perfect storm of what... And
I would say the music was better as well.
Yes, yes, I know what you mean.
I don't know. I would have assumed it wasn't a different
Apart from
DJ.
Sweet Caroline.
I have a soft spot for that.
Fair enough.
Right? And the reason why, and like my wife and my father-in-law with me, we all have a soft spot for it because that comes out of Japan.
Fair enough.
Japan World Cup. And I think that Japan did that I personally believe every rugby team and every international game should include, which is they start when their teams are warming up and when stuff's going on, they do karaoke. They put the song up on the screen and they put the words up and you sing along. And Sweet Caroline is one of the most common karaoke songs.
I understand.
And that's where it comes out of.
But
I understand during a scrum and stuff like that, people.
I'm gonna keep my campaign for Orosh the Vahawal to be a women's rugby song.
It's a solid choice
to replace Fields of Athenry to be their kind of, their anthemy song. That's gonna always be my fight. But third in the Six Nations.
Yeah,
properly
could have got second.
Could have got second. Properly third though. It wasn't a
definitively third.
Definitive third. Like in the last year it was points difference or try bonus points. No. This year it was no. We've beat everyone apart from the top 2.
Yeah.
And next year at home, hopefully against France, that's the next step. I think that's
the next step.
That's the next step.
I think again, right? They'll and it does have that feel of it this year, right? In Six Nations, where like that France game feels like a missed opportunity.
Oh yeah,
like not converting those scores in the first half and making it a tight contest. Like I think anybody who watched that game is looking at that scoreline going like that scoreline does not reflect this game. It's not accurate to what the game ended up being in that sense of like Ireland had their chances and didn't convert them, and they will be annoyed. And like that's the step before you beat that.
And
team.
I think the second half today, the coach to get the team will be annoyed at the amount of knock-ons 5 meters from the line.
Yeah.
The amount of like, as much as they weren't doing a lot. Like they weren't doing, they toned down what they were doing.
Yeah.
They had the game won, but they'll be annoyed that those type of things happened.
They let them get a try at the end.
All that type of stuff. They'll be annoyed, and that came from 4 stupid penalties. That wasn't Scotland doing anything to get up there.
No.
Just for that. Just locate that territory, and then those 4 penalties in a row.
It was them switching off. It was they were completely switched off. They were in party mode at that point.
They were going home. They are having the week. They're not working till Wednesday.
Nope.
Anyone who has to do a day's work, they're off. They're all that type of stuff was already sorted. Great game, great occasion. I think that is going to set a standard for fan interaction for the women's team going forward.
Yeah.
I think it's really good that this was the last match of this Six Nations in the Aviva.
Yeah.
They built up to all year. Next year, they're going to kind of go, France? Like, they can look at that France game going, that one could be in the Aviva.
France is a good bet rather than England, I think, yeah.
Yeah, so...
I'd go to Cork for England or go to Thomond or something like that for England.
Yeah, and I'll still keep the
Bring them
women's
to
team.
Thomond is a cauldron, right? Like, it
Yeah.
has been a cauldron for Irish rugby for a long time. So, like, make it a cauldron.
Yeah.
Like, make England not come to Dublin, make them go to Limerick, and make them be in a hostile environment.
And it would be nice to see, like, Thomond be a hostile environment again. Like, it's been a while. So...
I was trying to be nice to Munster, to be clear.
But no, I think that's right. Well, England in Thomond would be good. Dublin for France. Get at least 35.
Yeah.
I'd say you'd definitely fill the stadium for the French game.
Yeah.
That grudge match part 3, type of thing.
Yeah, and you could get a good French crowd over for it potentially and
definitely.
stuff like that. Yeah.
And, all that type of thing. And then try break it top 3. Ireland have done it the right way. It's stepping stones. We've got to here, dunk. That's the standard. We can't drop lower than 3rd.
Yeah.
We have to go up. And I think they're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And what you're seeing on the pitch is a 10% improvement is bigger than a 10% improvement for the men's game. Because the distance they've got to get, like they're taking
the distance they're closing is wider. Yeah,
wider.
The gap to improve is
bigger. So they're
taking
taking bigger leaps when they're catching up. So and they're doing that year on year out. And we're seeing a great improvement. And when we're talking about this team, it's not in that aren't they great sense, like talking about it because it's theirs, because no, this is a good team and they're worth following. And because they're
some amazing, like, if you haven't seen the game today, watch the highlights on YouTube, because there's some beautiful tries.
Like just some incredible stuff. And they are a team on the rise, and they are gonna do special things in the future.
100%.
And just get on the ground floor. Get and this isn't even the ground floor. Get on the middle floor.
Start paying attention to Aoife Wafer before she takes you out.
Yeah. But the team has good balance. The back row is balanced. The second row is balanced. Like, it's just a well balanced team. It's not. It's not where we said it's Aoife Wafer.
We joke about it because she is so good.
So good.
But again, Eric King, Bevan Parsons, Eve Higgins, Linda. Like, there's so many good players in this team. Like, it's like you could go 1 to 15 very easily, and like Stacey Flood had a great game at full back.
Yes,
across the board.
Robert O'Connor once again, 20 years old doing this. You know, ridiculous stuff. But no, they're a team worth following, and they deserve their win today to cap off what was a good occasion.
Yes.
And
I think, like, mission accomplished for this Six Nations.
Yeah,
to be
definitely
firmly in 3rd. There's not a bottom 4. There's a bottom 3. We're in 3rd and we're hunting 2nd.
Yeah, they're coming after 2nd. I think we'll leave it there for this week. For everyone who is watching on YouTube, don't forget to subscribe. If you're listening to us on whatever podcast app you listen to, hit that subscribe, like, rate, comment, follow me on Second Row on Instagram. That is the Second Row, 2ND, not the word second. So until next week, when we'll more than likely be back on Zoom, good luck and goodbye.
Bye-bye.